Imagine a world where empires rose and fell, leaving a legacy that shaped the course of history. Today we unravel the epic tale of the Ottoman Empire, a story of conquest and culture, of rise and fall. Join us as we journey through the annals of time to explore the captivating history of one of the most powerful empires the world has ever known. Early years, 1299 to 1453. The early years of the Ottoman Empire were marked by the gradual rise of a small emirate into a powerful state that would eventually dominate the Eastern Mediterranean and parts of Europe. Foundation and expansion. Osman I, the founder of the Ottoman dynasty, established the principality in 1299 in northwestern Anatolia after the collapse of the Seljuk Sultanate of Rum. Initially, the Ottomans were a small and relatively insignificant state, surrounded by larger and more powerful neighbors. However, under Osman's leadership and that of his successors, the Ottomans gradually expanded their territory through a combination of military conquests and alliances with other Turkish tribes. Conquest of Anatolia and the Balkans. Osman's successors, particularly Orhan and Murad I, continued to expand the Ottoman territories, conquering vast areas of Anatolia and gaining control over important trade routes. The Ottomans also began their expansion into the Balkans, conquering cities and regions that were once part of the Byzantine Empire. Capture of Constantinople. One of the most significant events of this period was the capture of Constantinople in 1453. Mehmed II, also known as Mehmed the Conqueror, laid siege to the city for several weeks before finally breaching its walls and capturing it. The fall of Constantinople marked the end of the Byzantine Empire, which had been in decline for centuries, and the beginning of Ottoman rule over one of the most important cities in the world. The capture of Constantinople also solidified the Ottoman Empire's position as a major power in the region and signaled the beginning of its expansion into southeastern Europe. Legacy. The early years of the Ottoman Empire laid the foundation for its later expansion and dominance in the region. The conquest of Constantinople, in particular, was a major turning point in world history, marking the end of the medieval era and the beginning of the early modern period. The Ottomans' ability to conquer and govern such a vast and diverse empire was due in large part to their effective administrative system, military organization, and religious tolerance, which allowed them to integrate different cultures and peoples into their empire. Expansion and Golden Age, 1453 to 1566. The period following the conquest of Constantinople in 1453 is often referred to as the expansion and Golden Age of the Ottoman Empire. During this time, the Ottomans continued their military expansion, solidified their control over newly acquired territories, and experienced a flourishing of art, architecture, and culture. Continued expansion. After the fall of Constantinople, the Ottomans continued their expansion into Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. They conquered territories in the Balkans, including Serbia, Bosnia, and parts of Hungary, bringing much of southeastern Europe under Ottoman rule. The Ottomans also expanded into North Africa, capturing regions such as Egypt, Algeria, and Libya, and into the Middle East, conquering areas in modern-day Iraq, Syria, and Palestine. Siege of Vienna. One of the most significant events of this period was the Ottoman Siege of Vienna in 1529. Under the leadership of Suleiman the Magnificent, the Ottomans laid siege to the city, but were ultimately unsuccessful in capturing it. The siege marked the furthest advance of the Ottomans into Europe and signaled the beginning of their gradual retreat from Central Europe. Suleiman the Magnificent, who ruled from 1520 to 1566, is often regarded as the greatest of the Ottoman sultans. During his reign, the Ottoman Empire reached its peak in terms of territorial expansion and military power. Suleiman's conquests included the capture of Belgrade, Rhodes, and most of Hungary. He also oversaw the construction of many architectural masterpieces, including the Süleymaniye Mosque in Istanbul. Cultural and intellectual flourishing. The period of Ottoman expansion and the reign of Suleiman the Magnificent also saw a flourishing of art, architecture, and culture. Ottoman artists, architects, and scholars produced works of great beauty and significance, blending Islamic, Byzantine, and Persian influences. The Ottoman Empire became a center of learning and artistic innovation, attracting scholars and artists from across the Islamic world. Overall, the period of expansion and the Golden Age of the Ottoman Empire was a time of great achievement and cultural advancement. However, it also marked the beginning of the gradual decline of the empire, as its vast size and diverse population made it increasingly difficult to govern effectively. Stagnation and decline, 1566 to 1699. After the death of Suleiman the Magnificent in 1566, the Ottoman Empire entered a period of stagnation and decline that would last for much of the 17th century and into the early 18th century. Several factors contributed to this decline. Succession issues. The period following Suleiman's death was marked by a series of weak and ineffective sultans who were unable to provide strong leadership. The system of royal succession, which often led to fratricide among the heirs to the throne, further weakened the empire's stability and governance. Military defeats. The Ottomans suffered a series of military defeats during this period, losing territory to European powers and facing challenges from rival empires. The Battle of Lepanto in 1571, where the Ottoman navy was decisively defeated by a coalition of European powers, marked a significant setback for the empire. Economic decline. The Ottoman Empire's economy began to decline due to a combination of factors, including the loss of revenue from conquered territories, inefficient taxation systems, and a decline in trade. This economic decline further weakened the empire's ability to maintain its military and political power. Technological and governance gap. The Ottomans also fell behind European powers in terms of technology and governance. European powers, particularly in Western Europe, were experiencing the Renaissance and the scientific revolution, leading to advancements in technology, military tactics, and governance. The Ottomans, by contrast, were slow to adopt these advancements, further weakening their position relative to Europe. Internal strife. The Ottoman Empire also faced internal strife during this period, with various factions within the empire vying for power. This internal unrest further weakened the empire's ability to govern effectively and respond to external threats. Overall, the period of stagnation and decline marked a significant downturn in the fortunes of the Ottoman Empire. While the empire would continue to exist for several more centuries, it would never again reach the heights of power and influence that it had achieved during the reign of Suleiman the Magnificent. Reforms in Tanzimat era, 1699 to 1839. The Tanzimat era, lasting from 1699 to 1839, was a period of significant reform and transformation in the Ottoman Empire. The reforms were initiated in response to the empire's declining power and the challenges posed by European colonialism and internal strife. Background. By the late 17th century, the Ottoman Empire was facing increasing pressure from European powers, especially after suffering a series of military defeats. The empire was also experiencing internal unrest, with provincial governors gaining more autonomy and challenging the central authority of the Sultan. Reform efforts. The Tanzimat reforms were aimed at modernizing the empire and strengthening its institutions. Some of the key reforms included administrative reforms. The Ottoman administration was reorganized to make it more efficient and centralized. New ministries were created to oversee various aspects of governance, and a system of civil service exams was introduced to ensure that officials were qualified for their positions. Legal reforms. The Ottoman legal system was reformed to make it more uniform and equitable. New legal codes were introduced, based on European models, and the rights of citizens were expanded. The concept of equality before the law was introduced, regardless of religion or ethnicity. Educational reforms. The Tanzimat era saw the establishment of modern schools and universities, modeled after European institutions. The curriculum was modernized, and subjects such as science, mathematics, and literature were introduced. Military reforms. The Ottoman military was modernized, with new training methods and tactics introduced. The army was reorganized along European lines, with a focus on discipline and professionalism. Challenges and limitations. Despite these reforms, the Tanzimat era was not without its challenges. The reforms were often resisted by conservative elements within Ottoman society, including religious leaders and provincial elites. The reforms also did not address the underlying economic and social issues facing the empire, such as poverty, corruption, and inequality. Legacy. The Tanzimat reforms had a lasting impact on the Ottoman Empire, laying the groundwork for further modernization efforts in the 19th and early 20th centuries. The reforms also had a significant influence on other Muslim-majority countries, inspiring similar reform movements across the Islamic world. However, the reforms were ultimately unable to prevent the eventual decline and dissolution of the Ottoman Empire. Decline and partition, 1839 to 1922. The decline and partition of the Ottoman Empire in the 19th and early 20th centuries marked the final chapter in the history of one of the most powerful empires in history. This period was characterized by a combination of internal weaknesses, external pressures, and nationalist movements that ultimately led to the dissolution of the empire. Continued decline and loss of territories. Throughout the 19th century, the Ottoman Empire continued to lose territories in the Balkans and North Africa. Nationalist movements within these regions, fueled by a desire for independence and self-rule, led to a series of uprisings and wars that weakened the empire's grip on these territories. The empire's inability to effectively respond to these challenges further exacerbated its decline. European imperialism and World War I. By the early 20th century, the Ottoman Empire had become known as the sick man of Europe, a reflection of its weakened state. European powers, particularly Britain, France, and Russia, took advantage of the empire's weakness to expand their influence in the region. The empire's decision to enter World War I on the side of the Central Powers, Germany and Austria-Hungary, proved disastrous, as it suffered a series of defeats and lost much of its remaining territories. Treaty of Sèvres and Turkish War of Independence. After World War I, the Ottoman Empire was partitioned by the Treaty of Sèvres, 1920, which aimed to dismantle the empire and distribute its territories among the victorious Allied powers. However, the treaty was met with strong opposition from Turkish nationalists, led by Mustafa Kemal Atatürk. The Turkish War of Independence, 1919 to 1922, followed, during which Turkish forces fought against Allied occupation forces and nationalist movements from other ethnic groups within the empire. Establishment of the Republic of Turkey. The Turkish War of Independence ended in 1922 with the establishment of the Republic of Turkey and the abolition of the Ottoman Sultanate. Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, the leader of the Turkish nationalist movement, became the first president of the new republic. The abolition of the Ottoman Sultanate marked the official end of the Ottoman Empire and the beginning of a new era in Turkish history. Legacy. The Ottoman Empire left a lasting legacy on the regions it once ruled. Its diverse population, religious tolerance, and unique blend of cultures left a mark on the history and identity of the Middle East, North Africa, and Southeastern Europe. Despite its decline and ultimate dissolution, the Ottoman Empire remains an important part of world history, remembered for its long and complex history and its impact on the regions it once controlled. If you're intrigued by the stories of empires and their impact on our world, don't miss out on our upcoming videos. Hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications, and join us on this fascinating journey through history. Together, let's uncover the secrets of the past and unlock the mysteries of the great empires.